Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed catching up with friends and colleagues and a little bite to eat. In a moment, we're going to hear from Mu Changchun, the Director General of the Digital Currency Institute of the People's Bank of China. Just before we do that, we've got another little poll question for you. So please vote on this now, and I'll give you the results towards the end of this session. Based on what you know about CBDC pilots so far, and we've heard about a number today already, which is the greatest challenge in your mind for further CBDC initiatives in major economies? A, willingness for adoption by the population. B, interoperability, domestic and cross-border. We're about to discuss that in a moment. Risks to banking business models. We've heard about those. Cybersecurity and other technical implementation hurdles, such as offline use rules, and we're going to have a separate session on that later, or identity and privacy. So, of course, they're all important, but please pick the one that you think's most important, and we'll reveal the results at the end. Handing over now to Mu. China, of course, has a major existing CBDC pilot, 100 million people or so already using it. And Mu is already down the road encountering challenges and opportunities that in real life that we've discussed in theory in our other sessions. So very much looking forward to hearing Mu talk about how it's going. And then we're going to explore, in particular, cross-border opportunities, including the project mBridge, which the People's Bank of China, HKMA, Bank of Thailand, and others are working on. So we'll talk about that too. So with that, Mu, over to you for your presentation. And good to see you. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me here. And I'm so honored to join this conversation and share with you some latest developments and updates of our project mBridge. Next slide, please. The G20 has made enhancing cross-border payments a global priority. In response to those initiatives of G20 and other international organizations on improving cross-border payments and explore the applicability of CBDC in cross-border use cases, four monetary authorities started the project mBridge. This project includes central bank and monetary authorities in mainland China, Hong Kong, Thailand, and UAE, and is undertaken jointly with the BIS Innovation Hub Hong Kong Center. You can see from the slide that the brief timeline of this project. In 2021, joined by BSH Hong Kong Center, the CBUAE, the PBCDCI, and the project was renamed from Currency Corridor to mBridge, and it has been further developed and has made some progresses. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned above, the project aimed to reduce the risk and burden of cross-border payments by providing a efficient, low-cost, real-time, and scalable cross-border multiple CBDC infrastructure to solve the dilemma raised by the international community, and then eventually in coherence with the G20 initiative to increase the potential for international trade flows and cross-border business at large. Under this framework, we customized and developed a new DLT platform, the mBridge Ledger. It enables central banks and monetary authorities to issue and exchange their respective CBDCs through a common platform. It assures coexistence and interoperability with the non-CBDC systems and protects financial inclusion. That means even with, for UAE, for Bank of Thailand and Hong Kong, Hong Kong MA, they don't have CBDC or retail CBDC off the bridge. They only have their RTGS system connected to this platform. So to serve as a flexible platform where central banks and the monetary authorities and common and commercial banks from different jurisdictions can conduct cross-border payments faster and safer and more convenient. The platform designs ensure that the mBridge could adhere to its core principles, and which is do no harm or no disruption, compliance and interoperability under cross-border use cases. Next slide, please. There are 5 key value drivers that mBridge proposition can bring to the participants of this project. Firstly, it offers a new approach to international payments by using central bank money. And secondly, it creates a cheaper, faster, and a more resilient cross-border payments. And thirdly, it's based on the DLT and promotes innovation. And fourthly, it assures coexistence and interoperability with non-CBDC systems, including the RTGS system and other fast payment system, and enhanced financial inclusion. The last but not least, it increases the potential for international trade flows and potentially leads to economic growth. Well, speaking of the governance structure, there are 5 entities of the which compose the steering committee for the mBridge. The steering or the steering committee is led by the BS Innovation Hub Hong Kong Center and also supported by 4 subcommittees, including technology, legal, policy, and business, the subcommittee, chaired by the PBC-DCI, Hong Kong MA, BOT, and CBOE respectively. The steerco members has decision-making and voting rights over the project, and also lead the designs and developments of this platform. We, the PBC-DCI, work as the chair for the technology subcommittee, and we are trying to offer a technical solution that is scalable, accessible, and also compliant in order to serve the broader central bank community via a open source or limited open source approach. And for the design principles, we actually adopted the Lego bricks approach with 4 characteristics, which is modularization, balanced, scalability, and interoperability. Such designs ensure the platform to not only to be compliant with the monetary sovereignty and the participating jurisdictions, but also enable jurisdictions to create their own building blocks based on their own technology environments and also supervisory environment. Such designs also enables the participants to trial, pilot, and eventually center production at its own pace. So that is the design principles or the Lego bricks approach. And for the functional architecture, Um, we can see from the next slide the function, the functional architecture of the Ambridge platform, uh, which has 5 layers. Each layer involves multiple modules. The access layer supports different ways to access the platform. For example, a pilot participants can connect the platform through API or directly from the Enbridge web front. I will leave the option to the participants themselves. The application layer includes a range of back-end services such as the wallet management and provides encryption and decryption services based on self-hosted private keys. The data layer provides local data storage and support relational databases and file storage functions. The blockchain layer or the DLT layer is the platform core. It consists of the smart contracts and consensus protocols or algorithms and enable the technical settlement of all transactions. And the basic service layer provides the necessary software and hardware facilities for the system. That's the functional architecture of this platform. And for the business model, as mentioned, the design of the underlying architecture of the platform enabled participants to access the platform in different ways, which not only enhances the platform flexibility, uh, as the Lego break approach does, but also improves financial inclusion. For example, participants can connect to the brand bridge platform and redeem CBDCs in the following ways. Firstly, it can um, redeem. You can connect the CBDC the platform like initiate transaction directly from the platform or interact with the platform from a different blockchain-based infrastructure, or they can initiate transactions through its existing correspondent bank or Ambridge. And also they can connect Ambridge with domestic RTGS system, just in case that some of the jurisdictions may not yet have a CBDC system, which is the cases of UAE, Hong Kong MA, and BOT. The platform could also support the manual external integration into the platform. Well, for the business architecture, you can see from the slide that you can have a closer look of the Ambridge platform. It's a common payment infrastructure hosting multiple CBDCs on which the local institutions can directly hold and transact in CBDC issued by the central banks or monetary authorities, irrespective of jurisdiction, through which the participants can conduct cross-border payments via various functionalities, including issuance and redemption of CBDC between central banks and their or monetary authorities and their domestic commercial banks. And also they can make cross-border payments between commercial banks in local CBDC. And also they can make cross-border PVP foreign exchange transactions between commercial banks and local CBDC. For example, a Thai bank can exchange e-Thai baht for e-Hong Kong dollars with Hong Kong commercial banks on the platform. And the next slide shows the functionalities and features. The Ambridge will will continue technology building and testing. We follow actually this agile way to iterate the system. This includes improving existing functionalities and adding new functionalities to the platform. For example, as you see, This is the updated user interface that we prepare to launch this year. And in the future, improvements like API connectivity to enable end-to-end execution and straight-through processing, statistics, overviews, more jurisdiction, and more currencies, as well as more use cases will be realized or deployed. So, as for the agenda or the timelines of the Enbridge project, um, the we have between 2003 August um, to September, the Enbridge platform was piloting with real value transactions. In those pilot projects, we have 20 commercial banks from 4 jurisdictions involved. Foreign exchange PVP transactions were made using CBDCs issued on the Enbridge platform, and the platform has issued 12 million US dollars in total, 160 payments and foreign exchange PVP transactions, processed over 22 million US dollars in value. For the members side, in 2022, Project Enbridge we have welcomed 8 observing members around the world. In this year, 7 more central banks and monetary authorities, as well as regional and international organizations, has joined us as observing members. So next step, we are going to move forward to a minimum viable product, so we call it MVP, to build creating a cheaper, faster, and more resilient cross-border payment system under the G20 initiatives. So that's all for today's presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. John, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mu. That's very helpful and interesting and intriguing project. Just a couple of questions from me before you go. First is on technology. When we spoke about your retail CBDC, you chose originally not to use blockchain, I think for bandwidth issues, if I remember rightly, among others. But in this project, you are going to experiment with DLT. What has prompted the change of attitude, if I have that right?
Okay, that's a very good question, and I know there is confusion and you know in this industry, and also it's also a controversial issue for people in this industry. For the retail CBDC or our CECNY project, that will be a different story because we have a very advanced mobile payment market. People are the users actually are spoiled by those mobile payment service providers, and people cannot endure, will have not patience to have a transaction done, in seconds. The transactions has to be done in milliseconds, or nanoseconds, not in seconds. They cannot, bear any transactions down beyond a minute. That will be a disaster for the retail payment services in China. So in that case, for the high concurrency, the DLT is not in the position to serve that kind of to provide that kind of service because we have a very high concurrency requirements. And the capacity of DLT definitely they cannot meet that requirements and satisfy the impatience or they cannot satisfy the impatient Chinese users. So that's why we are actually using a centralized system to process the retail transactions, or we build to build the retail CBDC system. And also, we don't have the trust issue in the domestic market because the central bank definitely will be trustable for all the parties. So there is no trust issue in the domestic market. And also we need a centralized judge in the payment system because of finality issues and also the all those disputes issues. We need a more centralized management to overcome all those issues for also including the AML, CTF issues. But it will be a different story in the international environment or for the cross-border payment environment because we have so many parties involved. Actually, every party is equal to each other. For example, we have 4 monetary authorities at the original of this startup of this platform, the Enbridge platform, and that will be a trust issue among different monetary authorities. If we have a centralized system, where we are going to locate this centralized system? In mainland China or in Hong Kong MA, or we located in UAE or any other central banks, there will be a doubt by other central banks or monetary authorities. Will you have a backdoor in this system, and there will be a legal access to this system? So definitely, the trust issue cannot be solved in the environment of a centralized management. So if we have a decentralized system, for example, we are using the DLT system to deploy the Enbridge platform, the trust issue is gone. So nobody will worry about any other counterparties will have illegal access to this system, and the node will be distributed, will be located in each central bank or monetary authority's own data center. Their privacy or data will be managed by itself, by the monetary authority itself. So nobody will worry about any illegal access or illegal activities in the platform, and so that's why we deploy DLT in this platform. At the same time, the capacity issue is never an issue in cross-border payments because people will have more patience in international or cross-border payments because we have such a slow or non-transparent or low capacity existing or traditional payment cross-border payment system, and people will will make a cross-border payments in the receiver will receive the payment in several days. So even we use DLT in the Enbridge, a transaction could be done within minutes, within tens of seconds. Then the people will have no impatience issue. They will be very happy to receive it cross-border payments within minutes. That's already a good result for them, because the existing ones are not very good, and the cost definitely will be reduced dramatically, and the transparency issue also solved. So with the capacity requirements of the cross-border payments, we don't have any problem with the DLT. So the capacity issue, it will be never issue for the cross-border payments. So that's why we are using DLT in the Enbridge deployment.
Understood, and thank you. So it sounds to me actually you've used a key benefit of DLT to solve this cross-border governance problem that comes up in any discussion about cross-border CBDC. So that's very interesting. But it sounds like there are other obstacles apart from capacity that may make it inappropriate for China as a retail payments platform. But let's see later on. Next question is on currency and foreign exchange. Is the mBridge system, if I've understood it rightly, agnostic about which currencies it is settling in? That's up to the two sides of the party. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. For the four current CBDCs will be coexisted in the platform, and the transactions will be made with a PVP approach to make the cross-border payments.
Which currencies would you expect to be most popular in the platform?
So far, we don't have a winner yet. Let's see in the future. It will be a market-oriented approach. Let the market speaks.
On the subject of KYC AML cross-border, there are also attempts, as you know, through ISO 20022 to set common standards for passing information across borders. Tell us a little bit more about KYC AML. It sounds like this system solves that locally rather than passes it between jurisdictions.
Well, that would be a two-tier problem. Firstly, for the local side, each central bank will be responsible for their part of the ML CFT issues. Of course, we are going to develop some convenient functions for all the parties involved. For example, we are going to develop the common part or common module, like we can embed it all the sanctions requirements from the United Nations or FATF, and then that could facilitate the participants, especially the commercial banks, to have an alert if they before they can initiate any transactions. So if one of the party actually are on the list or on the sanction list, there will be an early warning to their transactions. But of course, the commercial banks will be a main party for the responsibility of ML and safety. We are adopting the Lego brick approach. That means each central bank or commercial bank, they can embed their own AML requirements within the system, and you can embed the mBridge within their existing AML, internal anti-money laundering system in their own banks. So that will be a two layer, and we have a common layer, and also for each commercial bank or central bank have their own local layer.
You mentioned that we have some other central banks with observer status, including the European Central Bank. Do you expect other central banks to join this platform as it develops?
Yeah, we are looking forward to more developers from the central bank side, and we're looking forward to welcome more commercial banks to work as a developer in this platform, because this platform we are looking forward to building a co-shared, a open source platform for every central bank community and commercial bank community.
Do you expect mBridge to complement services like SWIFT, or eventually to replace them with better technology?
Well, I think will be a market-oriented approach. Let the market decides, and of course, I don't think SWIFT is a competitor to the mBridge initiative. I think we could be a cooperator in the future with SWIFT and also other existing financial infrastructures. We can use the new governance structure and the new technology to build a more efficient, more transparent, and a low cost cross-border payment infrastructure to serve the whole society. Because for the whole world, the market is big enough to hold and several big service providers.
Thank you, Mr. Mu. Last question from me, and thank you again for your time this afternoon. We really appreciate it. Away from Enbridge for a moment, we have a number of central banks with us in the room and watching online, wrestling with how to introduce a retail CBDC. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is something you've already done. What would be your advice to them about the most important issue for implementation of a CBDC in their retail market?
Thank you. That's a very good question. And I think because each country or each jurisdiction will have a different story, because our story definitely will be different from other countries, other jurisdictions. For example, will be completely different from European countries. Like they don't have Alipay or Tenpay, that kind of big players in the market. So for the adoption, as you mentioned in the beginning of this session, I don't think adoption will be a challenge for the European countries and other jurisdictions. But for us, it will be a different story. So that's why we have to work in a PPP approach. We have cooperate with all the private sectors because they are already there, and we don't want to touch their cheese because we don't want to, overturn or disrupt the whole landscape of the market. We want to keep the landscape of the market there. So we will work as universal payment instruments, but not a wallet service providers. So that will be different from other jurisdictions. But my suggestion to the retail CBDC practitioners or the central banks, that is the legal environment and the institutional or rule environment will be very important to initiate a retail CBDC project. For my personal view, for so many years pilots of our ECNY project, definitely the hardest part will be the rule establishment. And because for CBDC will be completely new technology, new payment instrument, so we have to build a new legal environment, legal system, and also the rule completely new rule system to accommodate or to facilitate development of retail CBDC.
Mr. Mu, thank you very much. I think that's excellent advice. In fact, these legal issues were being wrestled with over dinner last night and again today at the conference. So thank you very much for your time again, and thank you for talking us through Enbridge. It's a fascinating project, and we look forward to talking to you about it again. Thank you very much, Mr. Mu.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Just before we move on, we're going to explore blockchain in more detail now, actually, with my colleague, Lewis McLennan. But before we do, perhaps we could reveal the poll result about the most important obstacle. So adoption continues to be a hurdle. We were talking earlier with the Central Bank of Nigeria about that, which would bear this out. But interesting that central banks are going to need to think about publicity campaigns if they want to do these projects. So with that, thank you, everyone. And Lewis, over to you and your blockchain panel. Thank you.